The battery's low. The battery. Okay. I'm going to start with. Okay, well, the battery is low on the recorder, but I'm still going to start. So good afternoon, everyone. The Birmingham City Council is calling the Joint Budget and Finance Committee and Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Is Monday, December 11th, and the time is 3:38 p.m. Councilors, have you had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
There
I move approval.
Okay, well, I'll second it. All in favor say aye. Aye. The minutes have passed from the last meeting, and one abstention from Council President President. All right, councilors, have you had a chance to look at the consent agenda? Madam President?
Yes, I would like to, I have a motion to add the following items to the consent. Item number 5 on page 2. Item number 7 on page 2. Item number 9 on page 3. Item number 12 on page 4. Item number 16 on page 6. Item number 20 on page 8. Item number 21 and 22 on page 8. And items 24 and 25 on page 9.
Okay. Do we have an extra copy of the agenda for Mr. President? Or can you get Ethan to bring one? Okay, so that was items 5 and 7 on page 2, item 9 on page 3, item 12 on page 4, skip over to page 6, item 16, skip over to page 8, and that's items 20, 21, and 22, page 9, items 24 and 25, is that correct?
Yes.
Council Abbott, do you have any items?
And you said item 16 is on consent?
Yes.
Okay, I wrote down 15. I can't hear. Under the.
Okay, and administration did pull item 6 off of the agenda as well. Committee members. Okay. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The consent agenda has passed. If your item is placed on consent, the consent agenda has been approved and you can go. Otherwise, the first item is item number 4. And this is a grant, to apply for a grant with ALDOT for the Alabama Industrial Road and Bridge Program, and accept a grant fund to the city in the amount of $3,500,000 for the purpose of supporting improvements along 40th Street North from SR 79/Tallapoosa Street to Richard Arrington Jr. Boulevard.
Move the item.
Second.
All right, good afternoon, committee members. My name is Colin Alexander. I serve as senior planner with the Birmingham Department of Transportation. This is really kind of a two-part, the second of a two-part endeavor. Back in October, we came before you guys and we applied for an A-Trip 2 grant for improvements along Tallapoosa Street, which is also known as State Route 79. And part of the impetus between that and this grant, which we'll probably get to in just a second, is that we've had a lot of interest over the last couple of years for industrial development in the North Avondale and East Birmingham area, but concerns have arisen about access coming off of Interstate 2059, especially for commercial vehicles. So the first grant, which was the A-Trip program, which is specifically for state and federal routes, was to install a traffic light on the off-ramp and make it a safe turn for commercial vehicles heading south. We're now turning our attention to 40th Street, which is geographically the same road, but as it changes names, it changes jurisdiction in terms of who maintains it. So 40th Street is a local control road. It's one of our roads. And so we are applying, going back to ALDOT, we're applying under a program called the the Industrial Access Road and Bridge Grant Program. We're asking for $3.5 million to make improvements to 40th Street. Improvements include going from a 2-lane segment to a 3-lane segment, adding a traffic light that's been warranted about halfway down 40th Street between 2059 and Richard Arrington. Some other improvements, including some turn lanes that are going to improve industrial access into this area and hopefully lead to more economic development for the city.
Okay.
There is no local match required for this grant project. However, anything that would be over the grant amount in terms of the cost of the program, the city would be responsible for.
Committee members, do you have any questions? Madam Pro Tem? Council Abbott?
Yeah, I wanted to know, I've noticed with a lot of our paving, you know, I forgot what they call them, that you block the sewer with to make sure all of the ground up asphalt doesn't go down the sewer. Sometimes they seem to get moved and nobody puts them back.
Okay.
And, you know, our sewers are sort of a sore spot. And I was also wondering if we have any problems with flooding in this area already.
So there have been flooding issues in this area, and part of the improvements include drainage improvements along 40th Street to account for the improvements in any future industrial development in the area. So we are accounting for that in this project scope. In terms of, you're referring to like the inlet tops on top of.
Well, those things that are made out of hay and they're wrapped in,
Okay, yeah.
you know, it's supposed to keep all the refuse from going down into the sewer
Okay.
while the paving is going on.
I will, I'll follow up with our counterparts in capital projects and see if we can get an answer for you from our current project consultants and contractors.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that the people doing the milling put them in before they mill instead of after they mill, because that defeats the purpose.
Sure, duly noted.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions, so, Mr. President?
We had some discussion about this project during the Transportation Committee meeting, so I think it's important to also kind of understand the larger context of the project. That you may be aware that Coca-Cola United has been pursuing redevelopment of the Stock and Valve property that's immediately adjacent to 40th Street in I guess technically that's Kingston, the Kingston neighborhood, or is it East
Yes,
Birmingham?
no, it's Kingston because 40th Street is the division.
Yeah, so, I think the larger goal is to make this property accessible and allow this redevelopment of the property, so, you know, the Transportation Committee moved the resolution forward with a recommendation, but, you know, I think for the city in general, it's an important economic development strategy to allow redevelopment of that, you know, kind of well-positioned industrial property.
Okay. All right, thank you for the information. That was super helpful. Okay, do you have anything, Ms. Abbott?
Well, I'm sure at some point we'll hear
So,
from the
yeah,
administration
so, yeah,
about
we're-
this,
we're
because
constantly-
they've been pursuing
We're still
that,
in negotiation with them.
yeah,
So
for
we don't want to say too much.
5 or 10 years.
It's a long time.
So I guess we'll hear more soon.
Yes, once we finish our negotiation.
Thank you.
Okay, was there a motion and a second?
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 4 passes. Thank you, Colin. Next item is item number 8. And this is an agreement with OCV LLC, under which OCV will develop, design, build, and provide a custom mobile app and provide support services for Birmingham Police Department to better communicate messages to the organization and community in an amount not to exceed $32,475.
Good afternoon. My
Good
name is
afternoon.
Keita Turner, and I serve as the Public Relations Manager for the Birmingham Police Department. And today we are going to enter into a contract with OCB App to create a custom app to help with the communication gaps of what our citizens don't see on social media and our official website, and then also make sure that they're getting the timely, real notifications about what's going on in the city.
Madam Pro Tem, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you very much. I know you have a package, which was already said, of communication tools that you use, social media and that type of thing. I was thinking there was already an app. Is this a new application, or is this something brand new, or just targeted for a particular segment of the community?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, this is to redevelop the app that we used to have. The app that we had in prior years is outdated with the information and then also with the new branding that the police department has shared throughout this year. So this is to go revamp that app and also add support services for us.
That was gonna be my follow-up question. I know this is for a term of 1 year. So could you just describe some of the support services? Will they be looking at this over a period of time? What's their agreement to you? Can we all make suggestions how to make it better during this 1 year? Or do they come back here at certain intervals to get that feedback?
Yes, so it's a twofold. So whatever things that we have that we want to make the app better, or we see a need as far as getting information to our citizens from that way. And they also do a 90-day update, so they'll come back and say, hey, you know, this is working, this is what we feel like should from a technical standpoint, but also making sure that they're hearing what we need and how we can cater to our citizens.
One last question.
Yes, ma'am.
So would this be sort of like real time as things happen in the city? You'll load that to that app, or is it something I'll be able to go to all the time if I have questions?
Yes, so both. So if there's press releases and things, you'll get a post notification straight from the app about what's going on. And then also you'll be able to go into the app at any time to figure out any kind of information. If you need to contact a certain division within the police department, or also submit tips as well.
Okay. And the only reason I asked that piece of the question, sometimes I know our current system of even our websites, they're not always up to date, and there's certain information. So I was just curious as to what this particular manufacturer was gonna be providing and that type of support, keep it updated and things like that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Council Abbott?
Actually, you asked all my questions.
Yes, you did ask
Except
some good
Kiera, I
questions.
missed your last name.
Turner.
Turner.
Yes.
I'm just slow today.
It's okay. Mr.
Okay.
President, do you have anything? Okay. Well, I don't have anything either. Is there a motion and a second?
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 8 passes. Thank you. Next item is item number 10. This is for the city to explore and submit a bid to host the prelim rounds in either or both men's and women's competitions for the NCAA years 2026 and 2028.
Madam Chair, committee members, so this is our third iteration of this resolution that we just received support from the council. As we go to go after certain bids for our facilities, that will be the Crossplex Legacy Arena, Protective Stadium, and we're adding Bockwell also to the bid package once we figure out our conversation that we have with all types of NCAA representatives, let them view our sites, and we bid on certain different things that we have also won in the past. If you know, we had the first and second round of the NCAA tournament back in March. We also were able to receive 4 different championship bids that were held at the Crossplex in the bid year of 2023 to 2026. So what's before the council right now is for us to go out for ones for 26 to 29. So we can just still, what we do is put that resolution in the package as we have the support of the legislative body and the people who own the purse strings of the city. So we want to make sure that we have everybody syncing on the same board and the same sheet of music as we go after these different championships as noted in the NCAA regulation.
Okay. Council Abbott?
Yeah, my only question is, do we have any idea how much this will cost us? Because I know when they come look at our facilities, if they're not up to par, they always want us to get them that way.
So thank you, Council. So really, I will say that the World Games kind of helped us out because we invested so much upgrades into our facilities just for the World Games. That's why we included the Bockwell. It's one of our newest venues because we've invested a lot of money into that. So they have already viewed most of our facilities and are very keen to what the host and rec requirements that they have. So we don't see any foreseeable any more money that we'll ask the council at any time because we already made pretty much major upgrades, especially with the World Police and Fire Games coming in 2025. We're still confident that, we'll make more of a deferred maintenance investment into our facility as we have done. And I think we're fine with that, because most of the times when we do get these bid opportunities, they don't ask the city for money, it's more reimbursement to the city as we host them.
Yeah, I like that, but it's the expenditures on the front end that hurt. So I'm glad to hear that the World Games paid off in some of them. That's good. Thank you.
Madam Pro Tem?
I don't have any questions.
All right, Mr. President?
Just a quick question. So are we doing this, we're doing this in collaboration with the BJCC?
We work with, so we had an actual conference with the NCAA hosts in Indianapolis a couple months ago, where we were at the table along with the CDB and other stakeholders within the city, the Nikes of the world, the Bruno event teams of the world that kind of help us engage and make our bid packages for different requirements. So, because we don't really have the capacity in-house, we do, but we want a more professional look into it. So we have all those people at the table as we submit our bid package.
So does it work like we sort of submit one bid package and, because, we control the Crossplex and the Boutwell, and BJCC controls Protective Stadium and the arena. So I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, does the NCAA decide which events go where?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the final say, so we just offer the facility to them and saying, hey, if the city wants to hold the first and second round, we wouldn't have that at the Boutwell or Bill O'Hare. We know that would be at Legacy. But if we wanted to host the Division 1, 2, and 3 indoor track and field events, that would be at the Crossplex.
Okay. But it's all
It's
sort
all
of
by
collaborative.
Oh, absolutely. We don't do it in a silo at all.
Yeah, okay.
Do you have some? Okay. I don't have any questions. Okay.
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 10 passes. Item number 11, this is to deliver a first amendment to the software agreement between the City of Birmingham and Tyler Technologies. Tyler shall provide maintenance and support services for the existing New World software. In addition to the existing maintenance and support services, Tyler will provide analytics to the Birmingham Police Department and the Birmingham Fire Department 911 Public Safety Departments for FY24, $132,000, FY25, $127,500 for an amount not to exceed $2,460,783.31. Okay. Hey, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, Councilors. Patrick McClendon, Service Director of IMS. And this is for our Tower Aegis and other stuff we use for police and fire. And it's just adding on, the reason these numbers, the 132,000, 127,500, those show the increase that we're doing to add an analytics package to this. And then the total amount, the 2.4 million, is for all of the things we use with Tyler for police and fire, renewing that contract, folding in that company, renewing it for 3 years. This allows us to do much better reporting on our 911 police and fire.
Okay. Madam President.
Sorry. Thank you. So this is just a renewal with the additional fees associated with the renewal.
Yes.
Could you just give me just layman's terms, what those analytics would be like number of homicides, number of this, number of that, or what we're we talking about in general?
You could do that. It's for all kind of, being able to do all kind of analytics and intelligence off of the data.
Okay.
One thing that we had talked about that was a driver of it was to be able to say, okay, here's the time from the call to the dispatch,
Mhm.
here's the time from the dispatch to the arrival of the service.
Okay. So it's more efficiency driven. It's helping to drive that, to go back and see how efficient we are between these calls and that type of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's not just for that.
Just
We
that,
could use
sure.
it for any kind of analytics we wanted to do on the data system.
And you're drawing this data from all types of things, from the real-time crime center to what the input that the police officer, the fireman is done at the time of a call and that's
It's all actually coming from within that one suite of applications, so our 911 system, and our, the police systems that do dispatching, all that, and then the fire systems that do the same. It's not really pulling from things outside of Tyler so much, though we could do that if we needed to at some point.
Thank you.
Okay. Council Abbott?
Yeah, I wanted to ask okay, so this is going to take care of the calls that come to 911 about police and fire, but I wondered where animal control fits in this. If someone calls 911 and says a vicious dog has tried to bite my child, like where does documentation of animal control fall in?
I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that. I know that our animal control comes through.
Yeah, it's public works, and so it's normally not an emergency. But if it's a vicious animal that somebody's, scared is gonna get someone, I mean, I wouldn't wanna wait 3 days like you usually do, to have somebody come. So, I was just wondering who's
Well,
gonna
we're an
keep up
emergency
with the.
call, and I'm assuming a lot here, okay, so you might want to talk to.
Well, I'll talk to,
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'll talk to Chaz.
yeah, because 911 and 311 is emergency versus non-emergency. So if an animal control call comes through 911, we revert it to 311 for them to go out and dispatch them to the non-emergency line. And that's a different type of system that keeps track of all those different calls versus the emergency calls that we receive from 911.
Okay, so even if it was an emergency, we'd still give it to 311 and say good luck.
I wouldn't say good luck, but we do our best to try to respond to all calls.
We do very carefully say that 311 is for non-emergencies, so I think that if someone came, this is one good thing, a couple of years ago, we moved our 311 operators to our 911 district headquarters, so they're at least in the same room, maybe that would help. Because if you're talking about an animal attack, in your example, that would be a public safety crime, that's an emergency, and that would need to be handled through police and all that. If it's there's stray dogs in my neighborhood, it's driving me crazy, that's a 311 thing. I believe that if our 311 folks receive something that sounds like it's an emergency, they're gonna refer that over to 911.
Yeah, well, the people whose children get chased by dogs always think they're vicious, and they always want somebody to do something fast rather than, so slow that they can't tell anything happened. And I've gotten some of those calls complaining lately, so, I just wondered. So I understand now what we're gonna do. Thank you.
Okay, what kind of reporting is done? Who gets the reports quarterly, like the data that comes from this?
The goal of this is to make dashboards so that
Okay.
police and fire administration can look at it in real time pretty much, or maybe a day's lag in the data, and not have printed reports so much. And we haven't really designed all of those yet. The goal here right now is just to get the capability
Yeah,
to do that and find these things out.
okay. I guess my request, to you all, if we could get some type of reporting to the council so we can know what's going on. I know a lot of times people ask us questions about the numbers, how effective 911 and 311 are, so if we could just get a report, maybe. That would be good.
Mayor, but 911 falls under the commission of the council, so we can have the 311 part.
But you know, police falls under the mayor. That's all.
Well,
Okay.
and one more thing,
Yeah.
to add on to that is the fact that neighborhood associations always want a report
Yeah.
on what's going on in their neighborhood. And of course, I've been around long enough to know that when I was president of Glen Iris, we received reports. Actually printed out reports, and they didn't tell you the precise address, but they'd say the 900 block of 14th Avenue, and you would know where the gunfire was. But we don't receive anything anymore, and we haven't received anything for years. So I would hope that when the police officers come to neighborhoods, they could tell them what is actually, they could actually leave something with them so that they would know what's happening. Aside from having to hear it themselves.
Yeah, or at least let us have it so we can talk about it in neighborhood meetings. so they can believe like a lot of the tools that we're doing are very effective, which they have been, but if we don't show them any numbers, they're just gonna think we're just grandstanding. So, talking, yeah. Yeah, so, Mr. President.
Yeah, so I'm really curious about this, and, you know, I guess we're getting there in terms of answering my questions with your statement about creating dashboards. So, you know, a lot of the data, we know as being directors for the commission already exists in terms of, you know, the exact time the call comes in until, you know, an officer arrives on scene, you know, who exactly that officer is. So we have a lot of metrics that we collect through our 911 system. You know, that data exists now, but what you're saying is that Tyler would be creating like a real-time dashboard so that we could move that from being in spreadsheet format to, you know, being more easily interpreted. Is that correct?
Yes, Counselor, that we would be able to, right now those things exist as many data points. And we don't really have the analytics in place to say, okay, what was the gap here? Are there certain shifts or time of day when we had this happen or that happen? To be able to do that type of analytics is something that we've got the data, we're just not making the greatest value of it. So we're licensing the software from Tyler that will allow us to build the reporting.
Okay, so in the Exhibit A or whatever in the supplemental information, it talked about performance dashboard, which is self-explanatory, but it also mentions something called Citizen Connect and Explore. What are those?
There's Tyler, a couple of years ago, several years ago, bought a company called Socrata, which is a data analytics company. And they've been slowly moving their analytics and reporting things, building out the Socrata stuff and making it work with their things. So some of the names of those individual pieces of software, and this happens a lot in software, are a little confusing because they're products that are evolving. So we're going to start off very heavily with their current analytics things. They're still building out some of the Socrata things. This sort of licenses us all of those. And to be honest with you, it doesn't really make a lot of sense what the name is. It's the total, you know, we've got these different packages and we're using pieces of all of them, and eventually Tyler will sort out what's where and what the product name for each one of those things is. But they're all public safety analytics, all part of there.
Okay. So I shouldn't necessarily interpret just because the supplemental information has something called Citizen Connect in there that I shouldn't necessarily expect some sort of new interface for public engagement relative to 911 data.
Correct.
We were all excited. Said we were all excited for a minute.
Right. Because, I mean, you know, kind of following up on what Counselor Abbott stated before, I think the public is really interested in that information, you know. You know, there are times and, you know, I can't say that it's consistent anymore, but, you know, at one point, it seemed like the police department was making an effort to have officers, you know, give neighborhood associations in particular some, you know, crime stats for their neighborhood. And I know that folks appreciate, you know, hearing that sort of official information. So I was hopeful that we were going to get something that maybe worked in that direction. Because right now, you know, I don't know how it works, but I know in the past, the way that information's been gathered is that, you know, the beat officer, kind of thumbs through the reports, you know, for the past month for that particular beat. And, you know, they're literally there with a pen and notepad, sort of tabulating the numbers. And it would be great.
Not a great use of time, is it? Sorry.
Right, yeah, it would be great if we had something that was, you know, sort of more automated. But I understand, you know, that this is sort of a sensitive topic, you know, because especially when it comes to real estate, you don't necessarily want to be airing your dirty laundry, you know? So, I don't know where the balance point is, but I know that citizens, you know, people who are invested in the city of Birmingham, have lived here, you know, for a long time, don't plan on going anywhere, you know, I know that they really appreciate having this sort of information and insight as to what's going on in their neighborhood. So, again, I don't know where the balance point is, but I know there's a desire for that sort of information to get back to residents.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Do you all have any more questions? Okay. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 11 passes. Thank you. Item number 13. This is an agreement with Interpersonal Frequency, under which they will assist the city with its implementation and testing, which includes the creation of a new website development, design, and maintenance services for a term of 3 years, for an amount not to exceed $1,121,736. Okay.
Hello again. Very excited about this project. We've been wanting to do this for a long time. We think we found a great implementation partner for this. We feel like we've got a really good approach to it. That includes maintenance, ongoing support, and ability to get information to the website and to take out old and expired information as well. So this is about building the governance around the website and building as a service and product as something going, not just publishing a website and watching it kind of go out of date, which is what happens to a lot of websites.
Councilor Abbott?
Oh, yes. So this is the website that right now is so bad, and we're going to have a good one soon.
One could characterize it that way, Councilor.
I mean, you know, I just want to get down to the nitty-gritty, you know. This website that we have now is not user-friendly. And when residents try to use it, they call their council member and think we're going to fix it for them. And I've never been able to fix a website in my whole entire life. In fact, I'm just as frustrated as the residents are. So to hear that $1,121,736 is going to get us a new web developer is a wonderful thing. Even if the contract is only for 3 years. I hope it doesn't take 3 years for them to create it.
No, ma'am, we actually have a very good schedule for it. The first year is about $510,000, about $300,000 of that is the initial implementation. Then the carrying cost year over year is around $250,000. Let's see, yeah, about $270,000 a year. And that's to keep it up to date and make sure that, you know, when you're doing a website, you've got all these different plugins, it's a lot of different software that comes together, and you've got to keep each piece of it up to date. There could be security things with each piece of it. So just approaching it from the idea that, you know, this is an ongoing effort, not a thing that we build and deliver once. Will be a big game changer for us.
I agree. I'm happy because I intend to use it after I leave too.
Councilor Abbott says she's not going anywhere. Madam Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you very much. So this piggybacks on my question that was earlier about just how the system can change, information can just change like that. So, as you said, you have a timeline already. This is a 3-year contract for this particular company to do this work. So is this for the entire website for the city of Birmingham? Does it also include the landing pages for like the city council?
Yeah, I believe, and Ms. McDuffie can speak to it, I think we included all departments in our new council revamp, well, website revamp, that includes the council. So,
Yes.
So we will have a .gov instead of a .org.
Oh, we're
This
official.
is the correct, this is answer.
No, that's
Or
the
for
question.
real.
We have a .org now that redirects us from the city site to us.
It's a-
We could approach that in a number of ways, if you're giving you your own separate URL, or having it all funded.
They'll be under the same, I think that was the prior administration.
Yeah, it was 2 administrations back.
But clearly, you know, a place where you can go and say, okay, here's the city council, here's the districts, here's.
Yeah, and we really are part of the city.
Yeah, the first time it happened, I thought that was a little strange. It's like, okay. I'll save my questions for last. Mr. President.
This is great to hear. I'm just wondering about in terms of things like HR resources, will the new website, have like employee portals and, so that they can access payroll and all the other information that they need?
They can already access.
Yeah, we want to separate the external versus the internal. With the internal, it's more employee facing because of the sensitivity of it. So I know we talked about that this morning,
So anything having to do with employees or internal matters, not only go to the intranet, that's only accessible by city employees
on the security side of it.
and this would be the public website.
Okay.
So anything and right now, we do have some services like payroll, and things like that, you can go look at pay stub, and that we're adding some others that employees can do. But another big goal of ours, web-wise, is to build a real functional intranet, which the city's really never, we have one in Maine, it's not great. There's some great things we could do with an intranet to increase efficiency, just help us train and all kinds of things. But that's another project for another day.
Still want to know that we inherited this.
I guess that was my
Just wanna
question.
make sure.
But y'all are gonna fix it,
Yes.
so
Do we still have that mainframe that we inherited?
No, that was,
It's
on
finally
it's-
gone.
It's probably close to being.
Did meetings all morning,
Yeah.
working on getting rid of the last little piece of software that's running.
Completely done with
And
it.
you were talking about giving counselor at it. I've got a baseball bat sitting in my office. You are not allowed to leave.
oh, yes,
So
I
unplug that mainframe and you get to hit it with a baseball.
Oh, I get to hit it, okay. That's okay. I can do that. I've got some even better equipment.
I think they're
Maybe a
just
collector's item.
kidding.
Good dude.
They were just kidding. I guess my question about what's the name of the old software company? Who are you using now, and how do we get to using them?
Oh, for the website?
Yeah.
Think of that. Right now, it's Kinetic Communications, and they were part of the RFP process. We did a very large RFP, had a whole lot of companies respond to it, a lot of detailed analysis, follow-up interviews, and we were unanimous in picking interpersonal frequency as the best. They specialize in doing municipal websites, and they have a whole process around it, and they're used to not just doing the technical part, but helping you do the governance and learn how to, IMS doesn't need to be updating calendars for Department of Youth Services.
Yeah.
We need to give Department of Youth Services an easy interface so they can do that. And so the goal is let people run their own stuff there. And when there's something big or needs approval, it'll get picked up for approval from
Yeah.
the council or the mayor's office or something like
I totally agree. What other municipalities use this company?
I got a call from Jeremy. What are other municipalities that are using personal frequency?
municipalities. I think it was a city in South Carolina that used it. So I interviewed 2 different companies or cities that contracted with interpersonal frequency, and they had going reviews for the process in terms of some challenge they had in terms of working through COVID. So that was one of the big challenges they had with the other vendors. They worked through COVID, and so their team was very, so when we did the interviews, there were about 12 people on the, during the interviews, so they had their entire team, so that we could meet the folks that we work with from the highest levels to the lowest level. So in terms of communication, in terms of technology, in terms of resources, they seem to be the best fit.
I'm sure you'd love to go and kind of see those other cities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just pulled up, it's Baltimore, Burlington, Norman, Somerville, Cobb County, Denver. It's a lot. Tacoma, St. Louis,
Oh, okay.
Tulsa City.
Yeah. I think it's helpful to hear which cities actually use it, to know that, like you said, they're experts, and then we can look at their websites and see if we want to change ours to reflect some of the other cities. So I'm impressed. I'm excited. So, because usually when you go to a city, you usually find a city council just like that, and on ours you can't really, you have to dig. So,
Can I speak to that?
Yes, ma'am.
The city council is not with the company that he mentioned.
Okay.
We're not on the city contract with that, so you do get what you pay for, and as you can see reflected in this, $1,121,000, our contract was being supported by less than $25,000.
Gotcha.
So I think the vendor that we have, which I won't call their name, they've been servicing us very well at a very minimal price. But this right here is exciting because we can now get all the bells and whistles. We can get if it goes down, that's been our fear. If it goes down at midnight, it might stay down all night long.
Yeah.
So now we will be moving in the same progression as the city. So.
Okay. So this contract that we're finishing up, when did we vote on that one? The one where we have all these different software companies? Did we vote on a renewal? No, they was into a long-term contract. It was that long?
I think it was a 5-year contract, but I'm not sure. It was a long contract.
Okay, gotcha.
And that, again, for the city, it was about 25,000 a year that we were doing for just basic maintenance, and that's what they offer. So going in a direction where we have just a much more robust and capable partner.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, is there a motion?
I move approval.
All in favor say aye. Aye, the item passes. Thank you. Next item is item number 14. And this is Exxon Enterprise. The city will terminate quote Q3297271 and quote Q312731, authorized pursuant to resolution number 263-22, and will lease and use devices and services detailed in quotes. And basically, this is a lot to read. This is about the Exxon devices. I think Chief can explain it though.
Good afternoon, my name is Scott Thurman, I serve as Chief of Police for the Birmingham Police Department. So part of what this will do is, we have several different contracts with Axon currently. This will line us into one master contract for everything. It's a 5-year contract, so it'll include our body-worn cameras that our officers wear, our fleet system, which is the in-car camera system in the police cars, our TASER program, also our drone program, and our virtual reality. The virtual reality is actually training that the officers can undergo at the precincts. And it just shows them a lot of just basic stuff. It's not a shoot, don't shoot. It's just de-escalation, how to deal with someone who is autistic, just things that they can use on a day-to-day basis. They're constantly adding new training platforms to it, so it's constantly always changing. But also in this contract, it kind of right sizes a few things. So we had bought 300, well, we purchased 300 of the fleet for the guards. Well, we don't need that many, we need 200, so they're gonna right size some of this. It's our storage for our body-worn cameras and our fleet system. It also right sizes our tasers. We've got 1,000, we don't need that many. So it kind of right sizes that back down. It also gives us the redaction assistance. It helps us redact certain things if we need to put things out to the public. As far as some of the videos, it allows our auto transcriptions to transcribe who said what, so we'll be able to see that on the videos. It also gives us a new product which we're really excited about. It's called Signal Sidearm. So that way, if an officer draws their handgun from their holster, it automatically triggers their body-worn camera to begin recording. And so let's say an officer's just in a restaurant eating their lunch or their dinner or whatever, and something happens, they didn't have time to turn on their body-worn camera. When they draw their handgun, it automatically begins recording, which is,
good.
I think, a benefit to the city, to the department, and to the officer themselves as well.
Oh, I like that. Okay. All right, Madam Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Chief. Do have a question. So, with these upgrades and the existing services that we already have, does it just say, okay, we get rid of all these and now we're upgrading to this, or there's some pieces that remain, correct?
Right, so also what included in here is, so in years 1, 3, and 5, we get new body worn cameras. So we're getting, new body worn cameras have actually just arrived under the old contract. We'll be distributing them in probably February, March to all of our personnel. We'll be getting new tasers, which is Taser 10, which is, so our current tasers about 15, 20 feet. These are 45 feet. So it creates a greater distance between the person and our officer, a little more safety there. So we get new tasers in year 1. Fleet is, we just got those in 2023, early 23. We'll get the new ones in year 5. And then virtual reality, we just got those, and then we'll get the new ones again in year 3. So all this is leased equipment, so they're constantly updating and giving us the newest, latest, greatest equipment as we move through the contract.
Thanks for adding a piece about whether it's leased or we're purchasing it, because I know even when we talk about software, things evolve and change, technology improves so vastly. So glad to see about the leasing option. Now you said you're taking away some and giving others because of need, of what we don't need.
Right, we just don't have that. It'd be foolish just to buy more than what we need. We're trying to right size it to be more efficient with what we truly need and be more efficient with the city's dollars.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Abbott.
I think you got all my questions again. That's good. No, I did have a question about Axon. You know, I guess my question would be, are there a lot of companies that provide this type of service, or is Axon kind of like the biggest and the most available?
So they are the biggest and most available. There are other ones who provide body-worn cameras and car camera systems, but as far as from what I've seen, tasers and drones and a big package. So we looked at drones, for example. We looked at buying the drone itself, but then you have to buy the software package where they offer as a one complete suite. And it was just better and more efficient to use a one-stop shop. And that's what really Axon has done, is a lot of it is just a one-stop shop. And also, like body-worn cameras, this feeds into real-time crime center. So if we're in real-time crime center right now, we can tap into someone's body-worn camera and watch it live. We can also, with the new body-worn cameras, talk to the officer. Yes. So a lot of that technology really feeds in with real-time crime center. Same with Fleet. Fleet, we can watch it live in real-time crime center as well. I'll give you a good example. About a year ago, we had an officer involved shooting, and Assistant Chief Mack and I were at police headquarters. So we stopped at real-time crime center and watched the video before we arrived at the scene from the housing authority's cameras and the body-worn cameras. So we knew a lot of information before we ever arrived on scene. It's very helpful for that.
So with body-worn cameras, I know you said that the new ones were going to turn on as soon as an officer drew his or her gun. Otherwise, how do they operate? If a police officer is walking down the street looking for someone who did something, you know, who initiates the camera to come on?
So when an officer gets to work, their body-worn camera's on a docking station. It's downloading and charging their body-worn camera. They'll put it on there, person will turn it to standby mode. So once they push the button twice, it begins recording. But also with some of our systems, if I come onto a scene and mine's at standby mode and there's other officers who have it on, mine's automatically going to turn on along with everyone else's. So there's several, I guess, fail-safes, if you will, to make it turn on. But if they're just, what they're told is, once they're dispatched to a call, they're to go ahead and turn it on before they arrive at the call, so that everything on their ride there, while they're there, until they complete the call, is recorded.
Well, that's good, because I've often thought that if you were in a moment of excitement or terror, you know, you might forget to turn on your body camera because you're worried about the guy with the knife or the gun. So I just wondered what would initiate them to come on, because it seems like it would be easy to forget. But if an officer forgets, of course, the news always makes it sound like he didn't turn it on purpose so he could do something.
Well, another thing with Axon, most of the law enforcement agencies in our area use Axon. So let's say we're on a scene, we have our lights on and our body-worn cameras on, the state troopers or another agency comes on, has Axon, their cameras automatically turn on too because ours are on. So
Yeah.
you just get a greater picture of what is taking place.
Well, that's good. That's good. Now, One other question, now that you've said that. Sometimes other municipalities come hauling through our municipality, you know, going at high rates of speed with their lights on and everything. And you know they're chasing the other guy that just went by really fast. So we have a no chase.
No, we do have a chase policy, but it is structured and it is supervised by our service. There's certain things that we're gonna look at that we're not gonna chase, that other agencies are gonna chase for. A lot of agencies are gonna chase for these minor traffic violations. It's not worth, you know, and I get that question a lot with certain things. I said, it's not worth killing a family of four for someone doing a donut at an intersection.
Yeah, or shoplifting.
Or shoplifting, yeah. So that's what, the first question usually, if an officer, they have to go to the radio and tell the dispatcher that they have initiated pursuit. The sergeant will say, what are your charges? The sergeant's going to take it in time of day, traffic, speed, all those things, and determine whether or not they're going to allow that to continue. And I know some of the agencies that you're talking about, and I'm not real crazy about it either.
So they got to come through our municipality doing as they please instead of being careful, because I know they've come speeding through my neighborhood, and we have little narrow streets with cars parked on both sides, and if somebody stepped out, you know, they would be 50 feet away. And I just wondered if they can just do that with impunity, or if we have any control when they come through our city, how they behave.
We don't have any control, unfortunately.
Well, that's not good.
No, because there's certain ones that I know you're speaking of. I'm not real crazy about it either. There are things that we wouldn't chase for.
You know, they chased somebody in front of the Boutwell Auditorium one morning when we were having council, and I was coming in, and they went hauling by, and they were going really, really fast. I mean, if someone had stepped out, no way they could have stopped. And I just wondered, but now I know.
I share your same sentiments, though, Counselor.
Yeah, it's not good. But I know. Thank you.
Do you use the same virtual reality that the county uses,
I'm not sure what
or the DA uses?
if they use Axon or not. We had the opportunity to test it when Axon has it's called the Road Show. They tour. They brought the Road Show here last year, and I was able to actually use it. The scenario I used was, it was a child who had, I forget what it was. But anyway, that separated his parents, had shoplifted, because they just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to make decisions through the scenario that determines the outcome. If you make good decisions, like you realize that the lights and sirens are too much stimulation for the person was autistic.
Yeah.
You turn that off, you tell your partner, watch it, if you can go to the store and find the family. If you make all the right decisions and you have a happy ending, the store understands, they get their product back, all's well and good.
That's
If you
good.
don't, then you learn how you could do that better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's good to have that practice then and not in real life. I did it when I interned for Danny. It was the active shooter scenario, and it was interesting learning how you naturally respond, and I responded the way I didn't think I would. So I ended up having a lot of sympathy for the police, because like when you're in that like, you know, the adrenaline's pumping, you got to think about what you're going to do. So I think it's really good they can practice now instead of, yeah. So it's
We bring a
good.
lot of those scenarios in that are really what officers deal with day to day. You know,
Yeah.
autistic person. I mean, there's not a whole lot of shoot, don't shoot every day. There's
Mhm.
occasionally once a blue moon there might be, but a lot of this is just day to day. How do we
Yeah.
interact with our community members? And that's what can really help
Mhm.
us just do better serving our citizens.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Mr. President?
Yeah, so great to hear that we're staying up to date with the latest technology. And since we're talking about technology and the Real-Time Crime Center, I'm curious to know, and let me give you a little bit of background first. So several of the counselors recently went to the National League of Cities City Summit in Atlanta, and one of the things that we engaged with over there was the use of drones in law enforcement work. So we heard some, really interesting information about how drones, some police departments are actually using drones to deploy to calls for service. And in many cases, being able to identify that, you know, a law enforcement officer doesn't need to be dispatched to that call. Because, you know, the drone was able to collect information that, you know, gave insight as to what the situation actually is. So, does Axon do, you know, have that sort of capacity, and kind of where are we going relative to that? Because that was really intriguing to me, because I know that we're, you know, having to be really efficient in terms of utilizing our sworn officers. So, you know, nobody wants police officers to have to do more work than they absolutely need to. And I think one of the challenges is that we have an extremely high call volume. So what I hear from, you know, police officers on patrol is that they're going from one call to the next, back to back, you know, start to finish of their shift. And so any sort of, you know, technology that would decrease that volume for them is something that, you know, I think the council is interested in supporting.
So kind of a three-part answer. First is what Patrick talked about, the software, the first one he spoke of, is actually going to help us analyze those statistics a lot better. So how can we better utilize our manpower within the department? Right now, to get that information takes about 20 hours. That'll be a couple clicks with that software that you all approved earlier. The next part is with drones, we're still in our licensing with FAA. We just got most of that finished. So we bought several different, or leasing several different types of drones. One is to, we have a Magic City Classic or event like that, we can put some up. So we've got some of different sizes. Others, we've got some smaller ones where if we have a barricaded subject in a house, we can knock out a window or going through a door and fly it in. It's a relatively very inexpensive drone. We can get the lay of the land in there before we ever send a person in there. Maybe the person's already deceased, maybe they just need medical care, or we can see the lay of the house. We don't want to go in and engage someone if we don't have to, so that'll be helpful there. Also, before like our narcotics team starts a search warrant, we can put that drone up and see what's going on. Maybe our crime reduction team is looking for a fugitive who's involved in a homicide, we can use it there. Also from patrol, maybe we have a suspect that has run from patrol and they've run to the woods or something. We can put the drone up to see where's the heat signature in this area. The self-dispatching, I have seen it. I've seen it with ShotSpotter. We're probably just a little ways from that. I'm for it, we're just not quite there yet. And we're not able to actually fly our ship. We're still, like I said, in the licensing and training.
Okay.
But so we gotta get the foundation before we move to that second piece.
Gotcha.
But I'm good with it.
Anybody else? Okay. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Item number 14 passes. Thank you, Chief. Next item is item number 15. This is Bodega will expand its operations by hiring 1 to 4 employees over the next 2 years, improve the facade of its current location, and build out the section that will add more space. They anticipate increased revenue of 15% for the next 3 to 5 years. The city will provide a financial assistance incentive under the RISE initiative in an amount not to exceed $20,000. Okay.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Cornell Wesley, proudly serve as the Director for the Office of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. Before you today is another RISE opportunity. Again, we want to thank the Council for supporting the RISE initiative. It's been immensely successful thus far, and the interest in this particular program is continuing to grow. So who we have with us today is Mr. Kevin Freeman, who is representing Concept Group LLC, doing business with Bodegas. Bodegas is a new establishment on Fifth Avenue. You will recall this was a former florist shop on Fifth. It sat vacant for many years, but in my childhood, I remember it being a pottery and florist shop. They have taken that establishment, repurposed it into an amazing venue for amazing bar and beverage venue. So we're excited about supporting it, as evidenced by, or rather, as it relates to the use of the proceeds. all perfectly in line with the RISE initiative, what outlay. That being hiring employees, facade improvement, and of course, some internal renovation to take place. Our financial commitment here is for $20,000. And if there's any specific questions as it relates to Concept Group and Bodega and their pro forma and their growth strategy, as indicated in the document, they are expecting to increase revenue over 15% over a very short period of time, within the next 3 to 5 years. And they have been out of the gate pretty successful, which is why we are excited about supporting them. Happy to entertain any questions.
Okay, Madam President?
Well, thank you very much. I am excited to see this continuance of the RISE program. I know it helps not only the economic impact for the city of Birmingham, but small, I don't know whether it calls it small business or not, but business owners such as yourself. You say you will, part of this agreement does include hiring additional staff.
That's correct.
Over a 2-year period. And then can you just give us some ideas of your improvements to the facade?
The improvements to the facade is to create signage on the outside of the building to bring more attention to the property and the venue and rental space that we have and that we provide to so many different groups around town. We're also looking to do some garage doors in our warehouse area to expand on that side to help us create an atmosphere of a still indoor-outdoor space and allows wind to flow through freely. We also want to replace some doors and do some work in the warehouse where we can heat it and cool it a little bit more.
And I know, how's your parking situation?
We have 11 spots outside. When we did the parking survey back in October, it's actually pretty good. There were 152 spaces during our hours of operation in a 2-meter to a 5.5-meter walk to our building. So it has ample enough parking, which where we sit, it allows us to be a little bit separated from the other business. And Mayor Electric sits right across the street, so during those hours, they are actually closed.
So they work with you in
Right.
that aspect. That's very good. Well, I do know in traveling to other cities, this type of an establishment or entertainment escape, if you want to call it, is a lot of people look for this type of venue when they travel. We know Birmingham, we want it to be a destination type place and become part of a full entertainment package. When you come for sports, when you come for different things, then you go to this type of establishment. So I'm just glad to see this opportunity come open for this particular business. So thank you.
Thank you for listening. I would also add to that end, they were fortunate enough during the National Association of Black Journalists, one of the celebrities from ESPN hosted an event at this establishment. So they have developed a pretty strong following, not just locally, but some national brands have taken notice of what they're doing. So Mr. Mike Hill from ESPN hosted some really cool things over there.
Thank you.
Council Abbott?
Is this the location where the Arbor used to be?
Yes, ma'am, it's the exact same.
Okay, now I know where you are. Well, that was what, I don't know where your warehouse is it?
It's adjacent to the main square footage. There's 16 square feet on our main space on the inside, and there's a 3,000 feet warehouse attached to it.
I guess I never saw the warehouse. I always went and looked at all the fountains, you know. That was a while ago. It's been closed for a while.
It's been 6 years.
Yeah, time flies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'll be nice. I don't have any questions.
Mr. President, you good?
I'm just learning about this. It's a business in my district.
It is.
I've heard good things about it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll have to have lunch over there maybe.
Please do.
Yeah, lunch or dinner, so I don't have any questions. Council Abbott?
I am curious to know if you kept any of those fountains or anything as part of your decor. If you're part of the decor.
Saved us some money. But we have added some new pottery and some new outside seating to the venue and have outdoor heaters that provide a little heat during this weather. So we have made some major improvements to the building, from electrical all the way to new roofing.
Good.
Good, well, thank you.
Well, if there are any more questions, is there
I
a
move
motion?
approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Thank you.
Yes.
Item 17 is a cost-sharing agreement between the city and Norfolk Southern. They will undertake a project to install quick curb median channel devices at railroad crossings located, I need to insert, at 31st Street Southwest, Claiborne Avenue, 24th Street Southwest, and Pearson Avenue / Jefferson Avenue. And the city is contributing the remaining one half of the total estimated cost, which is $21,670.90.
Good afternoon again. Colin Alexander, Senior Planner with the Department of Transportation for the City of Birmingham. Before you is a cost share agreement with Norfolk Southern. So for some context, Norfolk Southern over the last 4 or 5 years has been pursuing Section 130 rail safety grants to install quick curb delineators at rail crossings, which the way that these devices work is that they inhibit people from driving around railroad gates when they're down at a crossing. That's one of the bigger safety issues we have, not just here, but nationally. And these have been successful in reducing rail vehicular wrecks nationally. Typically, Norfolk Southern's been applying for Section 130 grant money with ALDOT. There are 2 pots of Section 130 money that ALDOT manages. These 3 crossings were a part of the Section 130 grant that Norfolk Southern was going to start moving forward on. I'm not privy as to why this happened, but ALDOT recategorized which Section 130 pot this was coming out of. The reason that's an issue is that one has a Buy America clause and one does not. And these devices do not meet Buy America requirements. And so when it got transferred into the pot of money that had a Buy America clause, all of a sudden these devices were no longer eligible. Norfolk Southern tried to work with ALDOT and the Federal Highway Administration to reverse that and work out a deal, and it was not, they were not getting anywhere with it. So they came to us and asked if we'd be willing to split the cost directly with them. So this is no longer going to be an ALDOT Section 130 program. It would be a Birmingham, Norfolk Southern project entirely. We would split the cost 50-50, and we'll be pulling that out of a resurfacing account from fiscal year 21 that still had a couple of funds left over. So we felt it was a good use of that remaining resurfacing funds.
Okay, Madam President.
Well, I know Councilor Silverman and I are smiling because we're very excited that these tracks do run in both of our districts. So these are not all of them though, that you have others that are now part of this system based on the other grant?
So they've applied for multiple grants. We have a few of them down on the southwest side of town, 17th Street Southwest, 15th Place Southwest. We've got a set on Brussels Avenue. They've applied for an additional Section 130 grant this past year for one over near Sipco and another one over by Harris Homes at Antwerp. So they're looking holistically at their entire network and trying to find ones that are eligible for Section 130 funding. In this case, while these crossings were eligible, it's just the way that ALDOT managed the grant caused issues in terms of executing the project.
Thank you.
And I will also, just for note too, so that you're aware, that 31st Street crossing, if you'll recall, about 6 weeks ago, there was an 18-wheeler that was hit by a train and caused a significant fire. So it is a safety issue, and these help to alleviate those.
Perfect. Council Abbott.
I'm just happy to see it happening. I just get to listen to the horns in my district. But I don't have any tracks, so I'm very happy for my colleagues getting some of these safety devices.
Mr. President, do you have anything?
Yeah, this is kind of an aside, but I asked Colin about this earlier. ALDOT's not necessarily holding the Section 130 funds that they had for these crossings in reserve for us to do something else with it. So we'll have to work on that, but you know, this is definitely something that helps improve public safety, but we're not gonna stop at this. You know, we're definitely wanting to pursue other Section 130 projects.
And I will just say for the record, I mean, I know Norfolk Southerns have had a very tough year with public relations nationally, but locally, Norfolk Southern has been a very good partner with the city over the last couple of years, and I just want that on record.
I agree, yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Why you smile like that, Chief?
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye, that item passes, thank you. Next one is item number 18. This is Wood Ventures will relocate its corporate office and medical device manufacturing facility to a site located at 1318 First Avenue North as part of a project which will include an estimated capital investment of $2.9 million and which is expected to create jobs for at least 30 full-time employees, paying an average of $23 per hour, and the city will provide incentives to be paid annually for up to 3 years in the amount of $1,500 per new full-time employee hired during each year, not to exceed an amount of $45,000. Okay.
So we have Primordial Ventures, which is a veteran-owned medical supply production facility that will be located in the old Hibbets Sports Building downtown. They have closed on this transaction, and so we're removing Blight from our downtown and putting a corporate headquarters there. The purchase of that particular property was for $1.2 million with an estimated $400,000 in improvements. In addition to, the firm will purchase approximately about $900,000 worth of new equipment and look to hire 30 new employees with a specific emphasis on HBCU graduates within the state of Alabama. In return, the city is providing a 10-year property tax abatement, obviously that's through the DRA, and a financial incentive, which is before you today, of $1,500 per employee hire paid, obviously in arrears. So this administration has unequivocally declared advanced manufacturing as a top priority. And our city's strong background in the steel industry facilitates a seamless transition towards this innovative sector. Not only is our workforce already well equipped and prepared, but our educational institutions also offer ample opportunities for further development in the field. The decision to attract Primordial Ventures is a logical one, as our city boasts a skilled workforce and a supportive ecosystem that provides all the necessary elements for our success. We have with us before our attorney on record for Primordial Ventures, Mr. Raymond James, to answer any more specific questions as relates to this opportunity that's before you. But we are, as a department, really excited about removing Blight downtown and having a veteran minority-owned firm who will seek to hire minority talent from the state. And it also, quite candidly, is a perfect marriage to the ecosystem in that we are doubling down our efforts in healthcare, health tech, and this checks both boxes.
Okay. Madam Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad to see this project, the Hibbett, that building, going over there, but they used to serve steaks to sell football equipment to Little League football.
Oh,
teams.
that's
So-
cute.
So I know you won't be selling steaks, but serving steaks. But I do just want to ask about these 30 full-time employees. So are you actually manufacturing the devices there? Are they building them or are they distributing them? And both?
So it's manufacturing and distributing.
Okay, perfect.
Domestic and international.
Very good. And what would be the skill set required for these type jobs? You say you're sort of going to be marketing or looking into HBCU grads, but what overall would be the skill set you're looking for?
So it's minority-owned, or minority students, veterans, disabled persons. The idea Dr. Alexander has is to provide the training, sort of AIBT, to be able to provide the on-site training. And so obviously you want to be able to work in that type of environment, but he's hoping to train.
Okay. So not necessarily you have to have a BS degree in this or a BS degree in that. It's just
There are pipeline efforts ongoing.
perfect. All right, thank you.
All right, Council Abbott?
Well, this is pretty exciting because Hibbett's is sort of a eyesore right now. And being right across the street from Innovation Depot, it would be nice if it wasn't. Does that building have any parking?
On street.
It's all on the street. Does that mean that Park Mobile will be involved?
I don't think we can establish our footprint that far down, just due to the Innovation Depot having their own parking, and on-street parking is very limited, especially with baseball games.
Yeah,
I don't think it's in our foreseeable future to extend it that far, but
so people be able to park on the street all day and not have to run out and
yeah.
do something.
And without, like, the limited parking lots, especially, I think the Barron's owns the one that's on 14th and First, right across, well, it's the overflow lot for Barron's baseball.
From Sears.
From Sears. So I think it's best for us just to have the on-street parking just due to the limited factor.
And if I recall correctly, in the purchase sale agreement, he was provided with a certain number of parking spots in that Innovation Depot.
All right.
Spot.
We don't have-
That's good. Just wondered, because, you know, parking's a problem everywhere, well, just about everywhere.
Mhm.
And I guess this is one place where it would be a problem because you don't have any. Well, that was my only question.
Mr. President?
Yeah, I just want to applaud you, Cornell, for, you know, working with Primordial to attract them here, because this is a relocation for them from Florida. And, you know, we don't get those a lot, you know, so we gotta celebrate them when they happen. So I think this is a big win for us. You know, I think there's also, you know, one of the things that we're talking about tomorrow in the council meeting is the bid expansion, which, you know, this will be in the new switch district bid expansion. So I'm sure, you know, that those types of things also kind of influence the selection of locations. But yeah, this is, you know, kudos to you for working to make this work for Primordial.
Okay. Chief, why is it said for the funding source is going to be included in the city's FY '28 budget? That's really far out.
And
Oh, sorry, Raymond. Yeah.
Maybe it will shed light. So in the agreement that we have with the city, we're set up to start actually the first portion of the payments in 2026, and it's going to be July 31st of 2026. And it's set up currently June is the fiscal year, and so that would be a whole year. He would get paid out a year after that.
Okay.
And so he would miss that year. It would have to be paid next year. But I'm working with the attorney now, Mr. Stanley, to have that.
He's right back there.
Have that number moved to September
Okay.
of 2027.
Gotcha.
It's
And those-
Yes, and then we got to verify their full-time employees.
Yes.
Payers.
Yeah.
Good.
Perform first, and then
Good.
perform, then that's how it works.
Good. Accountability. Okay. I like that. All right. Anybody else have any more questions? Okay. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Thank you, guys. Item number 19 is an agreement with Renew Birmingham. And this is said funds to come from District 8 discretionary funds. Did we just forget to put that on consent?
No, I think someone asked that.
Oh, did you have, anybody have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. I just wanted to hear about this Renew outfit, despite the fact it was coming from District 8 discretionary funds. I just wanted to hear what they're doing and how they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Council Abbott, Madam Chair, Madam Chair, Council Abbott, the vendor is not here, but what are the specific questions?
Well, I wanted to know, you know, how they plan on performing this program. It sounds interesting. And, you know, I was wanting to hear from the person who was gonna be doing it, but since they aren't here, I can't ask them. I'll wait for the council meeting and ask them then.
Is there some information that's not covered in the packet? Let me try to answer it.
Well, what do you know about it? Are you involved? I mean, is this a friend of yours? Or?
No, I don't know you guys. No, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear more about it.
Well, I think in short, some of the services they're gonna try to provide, they're going to be surveying people in 4 targeted communities within District 8, to my understanding. That surveying is going to be to see how they can reasonably secure information from people in those neighborhoods and put them in a situation where they may have access to training and or gainful employment. With that, some of the support that they plan to provide, some information that's been provided, is public transportation assistance. We through either grants or debit cards, some of the things that we've done through some of the other service providers and partners we've had, and possibly provide child care. Now, to what extent beyond that, I can't really speak for the vendor. That they probably better answer other questions beyond that.
Okay, so they're gonna go door to door, or how are they going to contact people to do these surveys?
I think the term that is used is yard parties.
Yard parties?
Yes.
Okay, free food attracts everyone. I got it. I understand now. Yard party, well, that's better than knocking on people's doors. Because I don't answer my door if I haven't invited you, and I think a lot of other people are probably the same way. So, you know, yard party invitations sound better anyhow.
This item will be before the council tomorrow, so I will make sure that I reach out to the vendor and have the vendor, I would feel far more comfortable if the vendor was there to answer those questions.
Yeah, well, you know, you've done a good job, but you know, it is like hearing from the horse's mouth. It's always good.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I understand.
Because you're not responsible for the yard parties, so.
You're putting Jeff in the hot seat, boy.
Well, I'm gonna move approval because I wanna hear the guy tomorrow, or the lady, whichever it is, the person.
All in favor say aye. Aye, that item passes. Thank you, Jeff. Our last item is item number 23, and this is a crossing reconstruction agreement between the city and Alabama and Tennessee River Railway LLC. And they will reconstruct and improve grade crossings at 4 locations inside the boundaries of the city. Okay.
Good afternoon again. Alexander, I serve as senior planner with Department of Transportation in the city of Birmingham. So this is an agreement between us and the Alabama and Tennessee Railway, better known as the ATN. To really understand, I think this agreement needs a little bit of some background, so I'm going to delve into that just really quick for you guys. So the ATN is one of 3 Class 3 railways that operate within the city limits of Birmingham. This one operates from Boyles Yard, which is the CSX yard in North Birmingham, goes through the eastern side of the city and goes all the way up to, through Gadsden up to Gunnersville. Not all railroad companies are created equally. So you have your big Class 1 companies that do billions of dollars, and they're really good at maintaining their crossings year after year. Norfolk Southern has an annual program in Birmingham at maintaining their infrastructure. Class 3s tend not to have that. They tend to have inherited older infrastructure from a time when it was more prevalently used, so they're doing less tonnage, which means they have less profit to maintain this infrastructure. And so there is a challenge with Class 3 railroads in terms of maintaining their infrastructure within most municipalities. We're not unique. Beginning last year, we started getting a lot of complaints about the crossings along the ATN, almost all the crossings along the ATN railway. So we reached out and kind of put the railroad on notice that their infrastructure was in serious decline and needed addressing. They came back to us and said, are there any opportunities to partner to improve these? You know, we want to be a good partner, but we have limited resources to address some of these. So we have been working for the last 14 months trying to figure out how to address these crossings, and it's going to have to be sort of a piecemeal approach. Some of it may be grant opportunities that come down the road, other opportunities that arise. These 4 particular crossings, which we'll address, they are kind of the lowest hanging fruit opportunities. They happen to line up with 4 segments that we are proposing to pave next year as part of our 2024 package. Now, pause on that just to let you guys know that you guys will be seeing the list soon. We're still going through final reviews.
That was a question.
We're going through a couple of final reviews with utilities and some other city departments before we finalize the list for you guys to see. But we're pretty confident that these 4 roads will be included in the package next year. So those 4 crossings include 53rd Street South, a rather wide crossing at the confluence of 6th Avenue South and 54th Street South. Those are both in District 5. And then a crossing at Brownlee Road and a crossing at Milner Industrial Drive. Both of those are in District 2. So this kind of follows the ATN out to the northeast of the city. The way the agreement is structured is that the railroad was going to coordinate with us as we go through our paving contract. They are going to do all the railroad work, all the ties, all the rail that needs to be repaired. And then as we coordinate with our contractor, once we issue our POs and know who our contractor is, our contractor will coordinate and come through, and as they're paving those roads, they're going to pave the crossing over the railroad track. Typically, we don't do that. It's should be the responsibility of the rail vendor. However, there are challenges, especially with the Class 3 vendors, that it's a very typical standard agreement. We looked at examples in Alabama with the ATN that had done this. We drafted it on an agreement out of Boaz, Alabama, that was a similar agreement. So that's the agreement that's before you. The funding, we said, will come out of the fiscal budget this year dedicated to paving, because that's going to be tied to the paving contract.
Council Abbott?
Yeah, I was just wondering, first of all, I was wondering about how you were gonna pay for it since there was no money here. But also, does this create, are we, the grade crossings, are they on their property?
Technically speaking, yes.
So we'll be going onto private property to
We-
to spend public money because it's to the public's benefit?
It is to the public's benefit through public, there's right of way on either side that is only connected through this part of it. And so that's part of how we're getting to that, is that it's to the public benefit.
And I guess there's lots of legalities that go with using public money on private property.
And we've had this thoroughly vetted, Attorney Stanley.
Well, I figured Mr. Stanley was involved.
Yeah, and that's also part of this process that's so challenging, because we have to maneuver that part of it. We have to make sure that it's legally effective. And so it's taken us some time to come here, and this is not, we're not stopping here with just these 4 crossings on the ATN. Our goal is to get the entire line, functioning for real, vehicular traffic over the rail crossings, but this is the lowest hanging fruit.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President?
Well, I'm really not familiar with this particular set of tracks, or, so this is mainly east.
E5, baby.
So if you are geographically, if you're starting at Sloss Furnaces, there's a set of tracks that runs right in front of Sloss Furnaces, and then it curves. That's the line we're talking about. And so as it curves, and it stays on First Avenue South, and then it runs through the Crestwood neighborhood,
I
through
know
Bridge
exactly
Park,
what
and back through Irondale. That's this short line, and they only do maybe 2 or 3 trains a week. That's compared to Norfolk Southern, that's doing 35 trains a day.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you the disparity in income that these rail companies maintaining sizable infrastructure, but it's a struggle for them to invest in.
And just one final question. We're talking about inspection, or how are we made aware? Does VDOT make these types of inspections, or is this typically a resident may call in and report?
We do not directly regularly inspect railroad crossings. It should be the responsibility of the railroad itself.
Or you might have had a trail of correspondence from a certain city councilor that have, contributed to the
You mean a
conversation.
nag?
So when we get 311 complaints, which is, we get this on a regular basis. I mean, there are some spur lines that are owned by Class 1 railroads that they don't pay attention to because they're not using them. Things like that happen a lot. When we get complaints, our inspectors go out and look at it, and they make a determination, and then they come and we reach out to the government affairs offices find out which railroad owns it, and then ask them to repair it. So that's typically how we go through. And the Class 1s will respond and repair. The Class 3s, it's a little more challenging.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. President?
So, these crossings are toe up from the flow up, so certain folks might say, but, so it's something we've been working on.
I love seeing your personality come out. I'm good. Is there a motion? I know. For the bloopers, right? Is there a motion?
Got it.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye, the item passes.
Thank you.
Mr. President, you may get banned from our meeting. You guys are all distracted. The next Budget and Finance Committee meeting will meet on Monday, January 8th, 2024 at 3:30 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, guys.